Good evening. Well, I had a 20-minute speech designed to welcome you today, but I will not give it so that we can get to the real experts. And I sometimes think that small, intimate groups mean that we can get to some other agendas that we might have. So I want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank Bruce for being here. The Office of Historic Preservation is a very wonderful partner of the Humanities Council in this work that we've been doing now for 4 years, and as many as 10 regularly scheduled December, January, June meetings that bring people who, as Patsy says, have fallen in love with the neighborhood, have fallen in love with the city, and who are curious about it and want to learn how to promote it, how to celebrate it, and ultimately how to preserve it so that other generations can enjoy it. And in keeping with that, I wanted to tell you a couple of things. One, that we just gave 17 grants out, almost $2,000 last week, to fund small projects that the DC Community Heritage was designed to support. These are small projects that support people who want to tell the stories of their neighborhoods. And I have been delighted because so many people have sent me this blog about the attention that we were getting in Philadelphia, where Patsy spoke at a conference called A Sense of Place, Preserving Philadelphia Neighborhoods, and where this project that the Humanities Council and the State Historic Preservation Office, the DC Historic Preservation Office, is working on, is being hailed as a best practice. And it's, according to them, an excellent model for getting people to dig deeper into their neighborhood's history and heritage. And I want to quote Patsy, who says, "Preservation comes in all forms. It's not just about real estate. A small $2,000 grant can do a lot." And she showed off the products of our mini grants, which include community brochures, landmark nominations, a place on the DC Heritage Trail website, even a coloring book. And so these are those small efforts that the DC Community Heritage Project is designed to seed and to promote, and ultimately to preserve. So without further ado, working with Lisa and with Patsy, we have put together this panel of people who fund, and it's a real niche because it's difficult to find just the right funding for these really wonderful projects. And so I'm hoping that we'll hear something today that will give all of us an opportunity to think about what we can apply for and what we can support. I would very much like to introduce Bruce Yarnell, who is himself a good friend of this project and a supporter of the Humanities Council generally, and our partner, you see this Office of the
Thank you very much, Joy. My name is Bruce Yarnell, and technically I'm called the Operations and Grants Manager for the Historic Preservation Office. So that means I work for David Maloney, who's the director, and of course on behalf of David and the rest of the office, including Patsy, who's probably, for those out in the community, she's the go-to person. If you ever watched the television show Clean House, she's the one that everybody knows from our offices has been very active in bringing the historic preservation program out into the neighborhoods and communities of the District of Columbia. We've been involved in this project since its inception. Patsy and our former State Historic Preservation Officer, Lisa Burcham, worked with Joy and Lisa and others at the Humanities Council to make this happen. And from our vantage point, one of the great things about this is it's provided the opportunity for small grants, the opportunity to partner with even national organizations such as the National Trust, and you'll hear from Nell Zeal a little later. But it's the beginning of that journey for a neighborhood or a community down the path of what I always like to say from a a grants program and concept of building the business plan of where you want to go, but you have to start with the first step, and oftentimes the first step is that first small grant that gets you started. And one of the great things that we're pleased about is that this grant program has provided the opportunity to move beyond, you know, the large usual suspect organizations, the preservation organizations that our office has historically partnered with, out into the communities, and to get heritage education and preservation started in the community. So in this economy that we're in today, it's always great to know that there are some financial opportunities out there. And on behalf of our office, Patsy, and others, we're just pleased to be part of this program, and we thank you for coming this evening.
On behalf of the Humanities Council, thank you once again for coming here this evening. My name is Albert Shaheen. I'm the Grants Director for the Council, and I'm going to speak a little bit about the Humanities Council and our grant cycles. And then I'm going to introduce you to the rest of our panel here, and they'll speak about their organizations as well. The Humanities Council is a private nonprofit organization that funds and conducts humanities-based cultural and education programs in the 8 wards of Washington, D.C. The Humanities Council is an affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities, but it is not a federal or a district agency. The humanities tell us the story of what it means to be human. It tells us our stories past, history, anthropology, archaeology, our stories' expressions, literature, linguistics, language, art history, theory, and criticism, our values, ethics, philosophy, comparative religion, theory of law. The Humanities Council funds a wide variety of projects, from audience book discussions, documentary films, literary projects, workshops, seminars, research, oral histories. We have two regular grant cycles during the year. For those grant cycles, we give out small and planning grants, and we give out major grants. Small grants are up to $1,500. Major grants are from $1,500 to $5,000. Our 2 grant cycles, our first grant cycle of the year, our spring cycle, letters of intent for those grants are due the first business day of February, and applications are due the first business day of March. For our autumn cycle, letters of intent are due the first business day of August. Applications are due the first business day of September. After we receive the applications, for small grants are reviewed by our staff, and major grants are reviewed by our board of directors. Decisions are made and grantees are notified roughly a month and a half after applying. In addition to our regular 2 grant cycles, we have what's called the DC Community Heritage Project grant cycle, which is a partnership between the Humanities Council and the DC State Historic Preservation Office, along with the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities. That cycle is in its 3rd year, where the Humanities Council has administered the grants. Applications for the Community Heritage Project are due May 1st or the first business day of May. A committee reviews the applications, and grantees are notified about mid-June, which is roughly the time of day that the time of year the project starts. The cycle for our regular grants are on a 1-year cycle, so you have approximately 365 days to complete your project. For the Community Heritage Project, it's a shorter cycle. It's 120 days, and it mainly focuses on historic preservation and community heritage. So it is a little more specific than our regular grant cycle. One component with the Humanities Council grant cycles that makes it unique is the need for a humanities scholar. All all programs must have a scholar that is an expert in the field that the project focuses on. For example, if you're going to do a documentary in the history of LaDroit Park, you'd want a scholar who's familiar with mid-20th century DC literature, or DC history, maybe somebody who fits into that field. Scholars can participate in projects in a variety of ways. Either sometimes they're the project director, or they're somebody who's very hands-on. Sometimes they're just advisors that sort of help out with the project and just make sure it follows, it stays with its scholarly value. The Humanities Council funds organizations that are registered as a 501c3 nonprofit with the federal government. We do not fund individuals. Individuals who are interested in applying for a humanities-based project are encouraged to ally themselves with a fiscal sponsor or a fiscal partner and apply through them. Many organizations do that, so that's not something that's out of the ordinary or not something that's looked down upon. We fund 4 projects. Projects will fund the supplies, honoraria to pay the scholar, the experts, space rental, publicity and promotion, AV rental. We do not fund general office supplies, rent or overhead, refreshments, hospitality, equipment purchases. So for those you'd have to maybe use to match our grant. Because another thing about our grant is it's a 50% match. If you ask for $3,000, for example, you're required to match it with $3,000 or more. Our next grant cycle, as I said, is coming up at the beginning of August. Letters of intent for a major grant being due August 3rd, I believe, is a Monday. We're going to have a series of grants workshops throughout the month of July that are probably listed somewhere on the chairs you're sitting on. And they're also available on our website, or if you talk to me after, I'll be happy to tell you when that is. And that's basically the Humanities Council. That's basically the Humanities Council grants. Now, at the end of, we'll have time for questions for myself and everybody else at the end of the discussion after everybody introduces themselves. First up, we have Pat Henry, who has served as a manager, nonprofit, and faith-based relations for the Office of Partnership and Grant Services for 10 years. In this capacity, she has led both the Strengthening Partners Initiative and the Effie Berry HIV/AIDS capacity building sessions. As a result, hundreds of nonprofit and faith-based organizations have solidified their programs and their services. In addition, Ms. Henry has organized an annual conference for community leaders in to network, learn, and make a difference. And would you like to tell us a little about your?
As he said, I'm Pat Henry, and I'm the manager for nonprofit and faith-based relations in the Executive Office of the Mayor. I would first like to say that we don't give grants. We do provide you with all information you need to where they are, but unfortunately we don't have that grant-making authority. One of the major things that we do is try to provide capacity building support to nonprofit, community-based, and faith-based organizations. And what we do is we provide capacity building training, and all of our training is free. We have 2 types of programs. One, as he mentioned, is the Strengthening Partners Initiative program, which is a 12-month program that works with small, nonprofit, community-based organizations with budgets under $500,000 a year. And I'm sure there are folks in here whose budgets are not $500,000. But it's a very comprehensive program where we provide workshops on fund development, resource development, board development, and that's one of the most popular, believe it or not, workshops is board development, because that's one of the hardest things to try to get going is your board. We have workshops on marketing, because we found that one of the problems a lot of nonprofit community-based organizations have is trying to tell their story, which is what historic preservation does, is try to tell a story. We have workshops on technology, which we have one today. A lot of nonprofits, community-based organizations don't have websites. There are a lot of free opportunities out there where volunteers will help you develop your websites. One of the things we found is a lot of times these nonprofits don't know where that kind of information is. So that's what we do. We try to provide you with that information so you can get as much as you can at no cost. One of the really important things that come out of our office is what we call a funding alert. And I suggest that you go on our website, sign up for it, it's free. It comes out every week. The funding alert is an opportunity for you to find out what's going on in the area. We have one person that researches the internet every day to find out what funding opportunities are available, whether it's federal, local dollars, foundations, or just private individuals who are interested in providing monies or services to the nonprofit community. We also put information about different announcements and resources that you might be interested in. And I left copies in your seats. Again, this information is free. We work with the Community Foundation. When they have funding opportunities, they'll call us and we'll list it in the funding alert. We have over 4,000 subscribers, not just in the DC area, but we have people all over the United States that have gone on our website, found out about the funding alert, and they subscribe. So again, it's free, and I really encourage you to sign up for the funding alert. There was one opportunity in here, but I don't know if the Humanities Council would be interested in it, but it talks about the heritage of the Underground Railroad educational and cultural program. A lot of people don't, sorry, the bugs are coming in, but a lot of people don't know that DC was really involved in the Underground Railroad. So there might be an opportunity to partner with some other organization and go after this grant. Because one of the other things that we try to do is talk to nonprofits about partnering with other people. Because we found that, and I'm sure the Community Foundation will say the same thing, you can't do it all by yourself. There might be an organization that can provide an opportunity for a grant and do something that you can't do, but you can do something that they can't do, and you guys can do it together to make sure that you get it done. We also, what we have in our office is what we call our Grants Information Resource Center. And what the Grant Information Resource Center is, we call it the Mini Foundation Center, because we have 8 computers. The difference is that you can make an appointment, you can come to our office, and we have a staff person that will sit with you, go through the internet, and teach you how to research funding opportunities. You have a 2-hour block, and we have, you say, well, you know, I can learn how to do that at home. But what we have, we've subscribed to some databases that you have to pay for that are very expensive, and it's an opportunity for you to learn how to do it and to come whenever you want. The Foundation Center, they have the same thing, but they don't have that one-on-one support. So I encourage you to come down. You can call and make an appointment. We also help nonprofits to, I'm sorry guys. We also have nonprofits. We try to help you develop partnerships with other nonprofits throughout the city. We put out what we call our capacity building directory, which lists all the organizations, and you probably know some, but in your ward, that have participated in our program. These are really good directories because we have folks coming to us all the time wanting to know who is in that particular area. If you participate in any of our programs, we usually put you in the book. The other thing is that in your chairs, we're in the process of choosing participants for our Strengthening Partners Initiative program. You want to get more information to see the other organizations that have participated, you can go on our website. But the applications are really easy to complete. They don't ask for a lot. And the programs give you an opportunity, again, to network with other organizations, as well as you begin to get on a radar screen for a lot of DC agencies that are looking for nonprofits to provide funding for. And a lot of times they call us and say, you know, we have a grant. For instance, we had the fatherhood grant, and I know you all are in historic preservation, but still there might be some other issues. But they called us and they wanted the list of our nonprofits who participated in our program, and they funded them. They said just send the information in and we'll fund them. So you develop those kind of relationships. People learn about what you're trying to do, and when they see that you're trying to improve the capacity of your organizations, then they don't mind funding you. Because now accountability is the key. If you're not accountable for the monies that you're getting or the monies that you want to get, then you're not going to get it. So I just suggest, again, sign up for the funding alert. If you're interested, come to fill out the application for SPI, and also we have our citywide workshops, which is probably similar to what the council does on capacity building. We're having a workshop on Tuesday on developing a fundraising plan. All our workshops are free, and I know you're always told if you don't know if you don't know how to get there, you need to plan. You need to plan to wherever it is that you're trying to go. So it's really important to have a fundraising plan. Lastly, I bought some little gifts, but if you have this little card, and my card is attached to it, and I probably put it in the wrong chair. If you have my business card taped on it, I put it in the wrong chair. You don't have it, okay. I'm gonna have to figure out another way to do it. There's 3 of them. Okay, let's see, how can I do this? Who was the first person here?
White t-shirt.
Okay, I have three free resource books. One you can choose from. And I bought these because this is what we do. We teach you how to write grants. We teach you how to seek grants on the website. And we teach you how to write proposals. So you can come up and choose whichever one you want. Now, I don't know how to do these other two. Now, my card has to be somewhere around here. Where? I don't know. It's taped on the back of... It's taped on the back of what you put on. Because I put one on the front row, I think, on the third row. I cannot believe you in that. Next time I'll put on the chair. And I put it on the front row, and I put one on the side, so maybe somebody...
Is the card she's speaking of?
Yeah, but I have my business card stuck to it. Boy, that one I did not do that.
You said you put one on the front row,
Can you show them what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's a very nice card.
Oh, you. Okay, well, you can come up and get one of these. Either one. Great. And thank you for your attention. And I'm looking forward to seeing you or hearing from you guys.
Do you have other cards that you'll give us?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. And we can give stuff away too when you come down.
Thank you, Pat. Okay. Tracy Jarman is the Program Associate for Philanthropic Advisory Services Community Investments from the Community Foundation of the National Capital Region. She is an associate at the Community Foundation for the National Capital Region. Tracy works with the foundation's donors to develop strategic grant-making initiatives. She coordinates all aspects of special programs that provide donors and potential donors with information on critical issues affecting the region. Prior to joining the Community Foundation in 2007, Tracy worked in donor-advised fund administration for over 2 years at the Calvert Foundation.
Thanks everyone for coming out. Excuse me, I hope you can hear me. If not, let me know. So as Al mentioned, I work at the Community Foundation for the National Capital Region. We have been working in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan region since 1973. Our mission is to promote effective giving for community change and to make the Washington metropolitan region a great place for everyone to live and work. We are one of the top 50 community foundations in the nation in terms of assets. We do give a large percentage of our grants to nonprofits in the Washington, D.C. region. Last fiscal year, we gave away approximately $90 million to regional nonprofits. I'd have to say that we have a lot of different funding streams, and so I would encourage each and every one of you to visit our website or to speak to me after this. However, I could best describe us as a community of givers. So we engage individuals, families, corporations, and institutional givers. The majority of our giving is done through donor-advised funds. So we have over 700 donor-advised funds set up by individuals, families, as well as corporations. And they essentially direct their own grants through these funds that we manage on their behalf. And the majority of those individual funds do not accept proposals for funding. The Community Foundation's discretionary funds are used for the priorities of employment and workforce development in the District of Columbia, education in the District of Columbia, as well as capacity building, specifically focused on nonprofits that serve communities of color and immigrant communities. Additionally, the Community Foundation does have 2 affiliates that serve Montgomery County in Maryland and Prince George's County in Maryland and do capacity building work and other types of work in those regions in particular. We do have several donors who are interested in arts as well as environment, which we do put both built and natural environment, built and natural preservation under the heading of environment with our donors. For instance, we do have one donor who prefers to remain anonymous, who has funded numerous projects over the years, such as cultural tourism, DC, several museums, and they're mostly focused on organizations that serve underserved populations in the District of Columbia. We also partner, the Community Foundation that is, partners with the Marpat Foundation, which is another separate local foundation. And they do grant making across the board pretty much. They fund in the arts, they fund in historic preservation. They also have an initiative that's focused on helping residents of Ward 7 and 8 right. So I'm sorry, I don't want to go into too much detail at this point, but the Marpat Foundation does fund a couple of the organizations that are on your list that you handed out, such as the Smithsonian Museum in Anacostia, and I'm forgetting the other one that I noticed off the top of my head. So I would encourage you to visit the Marpat Foundation's website at the Foundation Center. Their grant round is closed for this year. However, they do accept letters of intent beginning in February of each year. So if you'd like to take a look at their website and see what kind of projects they fund to get ready for next year, I would encourage that. And I guess I would just encourage you to use the website as a good point of research. I know that Pat mentioned that she has access to a lot of databases which can be costly, but the Community Foundation, we do regularly update our own website as funding opportunities do become available, and we do, as Pat mentioned, reach out to other clearinghouses, listservs, affinity groups, coalitions, you name it, because we want to get the word out there about the opportunities that we do have. And because the majority of our funding opportunities are not really open to accepting proposals, I don't want to necessarily discourage you, because donors do come to us for our expertise about what's going on in the Washington region. And so I have my card here. We also have a form on our website, because if our program officers know what your organization is doing when a donor comes to us and they are interested in something along those same lines, then we can put you guys in contact. So.
Okay, thank you. Last up, we have Nell Zeal, who has served as program officer for the National Trust for Historic Preservation's Southern Field Office for more than 5 years now. That office provides technical assistance and resources to preservation projects in Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Prior to her tenure at the Southern Field Office, she was the program manager for Save America's Treasures at the National Trust and manager of foundation and government fundraising for the Land Trust Alliance.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me all right in the back row there. Okay, I'll try to project. As Al mentioned, my name is Nell Zeal, and I do work for the Southern Field Office of the National Trust. The National Trust is a national nonprofit. We're sometimes confused with federal agencies, but we are in fact privately funded. We're an advocacy organization, and our mission is to help people preserve the places that matter to them. And we work based out of regional offices in part, and I work for one of those offices that serves the District of Columbia, among other states here in the Mid-Atlantic. We're fortunate to have an endowed grant program for DC. We give away between $30,000 and $40,000 a year in 3 grant rounds. We have rounds February 1st, June 1st, and October 1st. The yearly cycle begins October 1st. So if you want to get a head start, I would say go for the earliest round that you can, because by June we're usually giving away the dregs of our funding. I've left these brochures on the chairs, so I encourage you to look at them. They also give an overview of some of our national funding opportunities. And on the back, there's a blurb with our website, which is www.preservationnation.org. And on that website, you can download applications. And so you can take a look at our detailed guidelines. The Preservation Fund for Washington, D.C. is probably your best bet. But what I would say is that if you're interested in getting funding from the National Trust, I'd encourage you to contact me either by email or by phone. Our planning grants, we give seed money up to $5,000. It's a 1-to-1 cash match. And we give money for preservation planning and for educational programs. Our planning grants can cover things like feasibility studies, conditions assessments for buildings that you may be working on. We also do landscape preservation for landscape projects. And our educational funding can cover things like community workshops, if you're interested in learning about how to landmark your home, or preparation of National Register nominations is something that we funded in the past. Learning about what historic district designation means, learning more about window repair, something specialized like that, we'd be happy to see applications. We can only grant to 501c3 organizations, which are nonprofits, and we're in a similar situation where if there's an individual or a community group that doesn't have nonprofit status, they can often work with a nonprofit to sponsor that application, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody about potential nonprofits to work with so that we can get an application in. I will say that the grant has become more popular, the grant program has become more popular and more competitive over the years. However, we are frequently able to fund, I'd say 80%, 90% of the applications that come in, so you do stand a good chance. We do try to spread the money around, And we do tend to get applications from the same folks over and over. So if you've not applied before, it's definitely interesting to us to see new kinds of applications. And I would encourage you, again, if you're thinking about coming in for a grant, to call me. We can talk through your application. I am sometimes, I'll be very candid, I am sometimes difficult to reach because I do travel throughout our region. So if you're having difficulty calling me on the phone, please also email me. We will set aside a time to talk. I'd be happy to talk to you about how to frame your application so that it will best be received by the jury, what sorts of things we're interested in specifically, and also after I've received applications, I can follow up with folks with any questions that I may have before it goes to the jury, because it's really my preference to get the best applications in each round as possible. I mean, we want to get the money out there. We want to be able to fund quality grants, and we only have the 3 grant rounds a year. So I do work with folks on a one-to-one basis on each of the grant opportunities. So I know that there's going to be a chance for question and answer at the end, and I'd be happy to answer anything else. The only thing that I wanted to mention in addition is that we do fund churches. That's a question that comes up frequently. We were at one point when we did have more federal funding prohibited from that, but we're able to do that now. So.
Very good, thank you. Why don't we do that?
Our opening speaker is now here, so please speak, and then after that we'll take questions and answers from Joy.
First, let me apologize to everyone for being late. It's fine. My name is Terry Thompson Mallett, and I'm the committee clerk for the Committee on Economic Development. And so I just wanted to try and provide just a bit of an overview of community benefits agreements that sometimes are negotiated with developers when they're coming to communities to build, be it apartments or retail or commercial, whatever it is. Let me first clarify some things, because there seems to be a general misconception that there's a requirement for community benefits agreements, and that's actually not as a matter true. It's something that's often negotiated because the developers want and oftentimes need the support of the community. And so to help entice the community, if you will, to be more supportive, they're often willing to provide amenities over and above whatever it is that they otherwise would have provided. So for instance, if there was a development that was going on in this community and the community wanted this community center renovated, well, it might be in everybody's best interest for the developer to actually add to his scope of work the renovation of this facility. There's nothing that requires that. Under the zoning process for a PUD, basically the zoning board looks for community benefits, but there's no true definition to what that is. A number of people have seemed to have gotten the impression over the years that one, it's a requirement, and 2, that basically they can require a developer, if they don't have any specific need, to basically write them a check and deposit it into their community, whatever their community association is, to make, quote unquote, a donation to their community association. Like I said, there's no requirement for them to do that. So we encourage people as they go out and negotiate with developers to be even-handed about it. You want the most that you can get, but you really don't want to try and hold a project hostage in the process. And so, you know, the first thing we always advise is that the community speak among itself so that it's going to the developer with one voice and hopefully one body. Oftentimes you have a community that's splintered, and so you'll have different groups. I see some heads nodding. Oftentimes you'll have different groups from the same relative community area going to a developer to try and negotiate a community benefits agreement. Well, if it's going to cost the developer more to negotiate an agreement than it is to do the project, and for instance, they need a PUD, so they actually need you to sign on to the project, then they might just pack up their little suitcase and go somewhere else, or in the case of the developer, their little briefcase and pencils, and go elsewhere to do that development. Because if it's going to be too hard to get it done, cost them too much money, it just, at the end of the day, may not be a development that is economically feasible. So we encourage all communities to try and speak with one voice. Keep notice, someone should be, and that's why associations are good, someone should be always aware of what's going on in your community and in your neighborhood. The Office of Planning has small area plans for most of the neighborhoods in the District of Columbia at this point. So there are plans out there about what kind of development, and hopefully everybody in this room has participated in one way or another in that planning process. So you know what's going on and what kind of development is anticipated to come to your area. The Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, their website also has information about development projects that either they're soliciting for or that they already have on the books. And so you need to always look at that and, you know, all the other networking that you normally would do as a community to identify what what development is either in place or planned to be in place. Because the earlier you get in, the easier it is to figure out what's already on the books and what they're planning to do for the community, so you can see what you want to supplement. So if they're planning to renovate a school, for instance, and adjacent to the school is a recreation center, then that's probably not a real good example, but whatever it is that they're planning to do, if there's a recreation center or something that's adjacent to it, then you might want to encourage them to add that to their list. They're already on site. It's not that big of a deal. If you're building one widget, building two widgets almost is, you know, a cost-effective thing to do. So the biggest part is first knowing what's going on in your community. Because if you don't know, then you can't plan, and if you can't plan, then the rest of it just kind of goes by the wayside. So, go ahead. I get the impression, I don't know, are we supposed to do questions after the fact, or?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to go back and finish after we finish.
So, you really do need to know upfront what's going on in your community. You do need to have worked through some of the issues within your community so you know what you're looking for, what you're asking for, and as the development process goes along, then you want to see what they're offering so that you know what kinds of things that you want to have supplemented. And given the fact that I